Welcome. I'm Dr. John, a licensed couples and family therapist. This isn't really a parenting channel. It's a place where parents and adult children learn to understand the invisible emotional rules that shape their families. So healing doesn't just stop with them. And so, welcome home. Dear parent, can I ask you something? When you think about your childhood, who hurt you more than anyone else? For some of you, the answer came immediately, right? My brother or my sister. Maybe they bullied you, ignored you. They probably mocked you. They may have told your secrets, joined your parents against you, became the favorite. And for years, that's been the story. My sibling hurt me. Maybe they did. But today, I want to ask a question that might change how you understand your entire family. What if your sibling wasn't the enemy? What if both of you were trying to survive the same home in completely different ways? Because children don't choose family systems. Heck, they adapt to them. Let's dive in. See, every family assigns roles. Think about your family. Even without trying, you can probably name everyone's role, right? We have the responsible one. We have the difficult one. We have the peacemaker, the funny one, the smart one. What about the favorite? Don't forget the invisible one. You see, nobody sat down and assigned those jobs. But somehow, right, if you think about it, everyone knew. You see, families are emotional systems. So when one person changes, everyone adjusts. Children unconsciously begin occupying roles that stabilize the family. The role wasn't your identity, though. It was just your adaptation. So think about that for a moment, okay? So children didn't wake up one morning and decide, I'm going to become the peacemaker. They don't choose to become the overachiever or the invisible child or the rebel or the comedian or the one who never asked for help. Shit, those roles usually develop because somewhere along the way, a child's nervous system begins asking a simple question. What do I need to become to stay connected in this family? So if being quiet kept the peace, you became quiet. If making everyone laugh eased the tension, you became funny. If you earning straight A's brought affection, you became the achiever. You see, those weren't personality traits at first. They were survival strategies. Heck, they were brilliant adaptations created by a child trying to find safety, belonging, and love in the only family that they knew. And so the tragedy is that many of us carry those adaptations into our adulthood, and we start mistaking them for our identity. But here's the good news. You are not the role your family needed you to play. You are the person who learned to play it. And shit, if it was learned, it can be unlearned. Think about what that means. So if you learn that your value came from making everyone else happy, you can learn that your value doesn't depend on carrying everyone else's emotions. If you learn that love had to be earned through perfect grades, perfect behavior, perfect performance, then you can learn that healthy love doesn't have to be earned at all. If you learn to disappear so no one would notice your needs, you can learn that your voice deserves a place in the room. If you learn to become strong, the strong one, because nobody else, you can learn that strength also includes letting yourself be supported. The child who learned those roles wasn't weak. They were just incredibly resourceful, right? They looked at the emotional climate of their family and without anyone teaching them asked, hey, what do I need to become to survive here? And they became that person. Not because it reflected who they truly were, though, but because it helped them stay connected to the people they needed most as a child. But here's the beautiful part. What your nervous system learned in a relationship, it can begin to relearn in healthier relationships. Every time you tell the truth, instead of pretending you're okay, you're unlearning. Every time you set a boundary without believing you've become a bad son or daughter, you're unlearning. Every time you comfort your child instead of repeating what was done to you, you're unlearning. And every time you allow yourself to be loved without performing for it, you're unlearning. Healing isn't becoming someone completely different. It's slowly giving yourself permission to become the person you might have been if survival had never required you to wear that mask. Come on now. You see, love became something to compete for. Children don't compete because they're selfish. No, they compete because resources felt limited. Here we go. Watch this. Attention, affection, praise, safety. See, if love feels scarce, siblings become competitors, not because they hate each other, because they're trying to survive. When love feels limited, children stop asking, "Who am I?" And damn it, they start asking, "How do I win?" Because every child enters this world asking one quiet question: is there a place for me here? Because in healthy families, the answer is communicated over and over again. Yes, you don't have to compete for our love. You already belong. But when affection feels inconsistent, when praise is compared, when attention is earned instead of freely given, a child's question begins to change. No longer, "Who am I?" Now it's, "Who do I have to become to be noticed? Do I need better grades? Do I need fewer emotions? Do I need to be funnier than my brother? Do I need to be easier than my sister?" Slowly, identity gives way to competition. Not because children are selfish, but because they believe love is scarce. And let me tell you, when love feels scarce, your sibling stops looking like someone to grow up with, and they begin looking like someone you have to beat. Sit with that. You didn't think about it, did you? You see, sometimes parents don't resolve tension directly. Let me tell you what they do. Instead, they pull a child into it. Here we go. They vent, compare, confide, take sides, and suddenly, one sibling becomes the good one. Another becomes the problem. One becomes the parent's emotional partner. Oh, I'm going to name that today. Another becomes isolated. The triangle protected the marriage, but it often costs the children the relationship. I see it all the time. Sometimes the greatest conflict in the family isn't the argument everyone sees. It's the one everyone quietly organizes themselves around. When parents struggle with unresolved tension, that tension has to go somewhere. Sometimes it gets placed onto a child. One parent begins confiding in a son about the other parent. A daughter becomes the emotional support her mother never received from her husband. One sibling praised while the other is criticized. One child becomes the good one. The other becomes the problem. And before long, children aren't simply relating to each other anymore. They're relating to the positions they've been assigned. The triangle may reduce the tension between the adults, but it quietly transfers the burden onto the children. The marriage feels a little more stable while the siblings slowly become strangers. You see, they stop seeing each other as brother and sister, and they begin competing and seeing each other all the time as competition, as rivals, as extensions of their parents' conflict. Shit, and years later, many siblings spent decades trying to heal a relationship that was damaged by a war they never started. Can you imagine? Because the deepest wound wasn't always what happened between them. It was what happened around them. Right? Your sibling adapted too. Think about the sibling you've spent years blaming. Ask yourself, sit with it. Who taught them that role? Okay? Who rewarded it? Who benefited from it? And who praised them for it? Shit, who punished them if they stepped outside of it? You see, they were a child too. The golden child wasn't always winning. Don't get it twisted. Sometimes they were simply carrying a different burden. Golden children often carry perfectionism, fear of failure, fear of disappointing parents, loss of identity. Black sheep, they carry rejection. Scapegoats carry blame. Invisible children carry loneliness. Everyone is paying. Everyone pays in this family system. You see, two truths can exist. I need everybody to really listen carefully, please. Your sibling may have hurt you, and your sibling may have been surviving as well. Both things can be true. See, healing doesn't erase accountability, okay? It expands understanding. Compassion isn't the opposite of truth, dear parent. Sometimes it's what allows us to finally face it. We have to face it. And so, what do we do now, Dr. John? Look, not every sibling relationship should be restored. I'm going to keep it 100. I'm going to say that clearly. Some remain unsafe. Some remain abusive. Some remain manipulative. Healing isn't reconciliation at all costs. Remember that. But healing may invite a different question. It's not, what did my sibling do? But it's, what happened inside the family that made both of us become who we became. Because sometimes the greatest betrayal wasn't what your sibling did. It was the damn system that convinced you to fight each other instead of asking why you were fighting at all. Dear parent, maybe, just maybe, your greatest act of healing won't be choosing between loyalty to yourself or compassion for your sibling. Nah, maybe. It's refusing to let the family system tell the final version of your story. Because before, your sibling was the golden child or the scapegoat or the favorite or the forgotten one. They were simply a little boy or a little girl trying to figure out how to stay connected inside the only family they had. And so were you. One day, your children will tell stories about growing up together. My prayer, my deepest hope, is that those stories aren't about competing for your love, but about discovering it was never something they had to earn. Because love that has to be won will eventually divide a family. But love that is freely given day in and day out has the power to heal generations. So, dear parent, welcome home. Okay? Welcome home. If today's conversation helped you see that maybe your sibling wasn't the beginning of the story, don't stop here. Because siblings don't learn to compete by themselves. Somewhere, someone taught your family what love required. That's where we're going next. Because before we can change the way we parent, we have to understand the invisible emotional rules that quietly raised us. So come on. Continue the journey with me. I'll meet you there. All right? And so before we leave, I want you to remember one important thing, please. See, your family gave you a role, but they did not get the final word on who you are. You may have learned to compete. You may have learned to disappear. You may have learned to rescue everyone. You may have learned that love had to be earned, but those were lessons. It's not your identity. And what was learned, damn it, can be unlearned. So this week, when you look at your children, please don't ask, how do I make them behave? Ask yourself, dear parent, what kind of family are they learning to become? Because one day, they won't just remember what you taught them. They'll remember what it felt like to belong. And maybe, just maybe, the greatest gift you ever give your children is that they never have to spend 40 years recovering from their childhood, because they spent it discovering who they were. Welcome home.